Hi everyone, we are live on Instagram at the same time and we are recording for YouTube, and welcome to this live Q&A session. So the first one was actually more like a health question. So the question was, how do I eat healthy if I am on projects? And the truth is that this is really challenging, and I started thinking about my diet very early. So when I started in consulting, I actually was a vegetarian. I also tried to be vegan, so this was at the beginning. Now I eat some meat and fish. Back then it was really tough, because the only thing that you can eat is basically, bread and pasta and, all those carbs heavy dishes. So this was really a problem, because it was quite challenging, to stay lean, to stay athletic, if you eat carbs all the time. So I hired a personal trainer, I think it was like a year ago. And I developed a a diet plan with him. And we also thought about, okay, what are possibilities that I can do on a project to stay healthy and to eat healthy food. And I have to tell you, that many of my colleagues, they eat all the sweets, they in the evening they have some, fries, they eat burgers, they eat a lot of carbs, and this is something that I really don't do. So I really try to have high protein intake, take high fat intake, and really low carbs. And also at the moment I try to be in a calorie deficit, okay, because I want to lose some weight. I was more in a building phase and a mass phase in the previous month, and now I want to shred down a little bit. So, and now the big question is, how do you do it? The easiest way for me is to prepare my food, and the way I do it is in Germany we have a food delivery or a food preparation service. It's called Prep My Meal, and those guys, they prepare meals. You can let them send them to you, and I usually send them to my hotel where I'm at, and there I actually just take it. And this forces me, and I usually also order the food for the entire week, because this enables me, or this forces me to eat the same meals all of the time, okay? Because the most difficult thing in consulting to eat healthy is actually that you have to be very spontaneous sometimes, because your schedule changes, and not everywhere where you are you have healthy options. So the best way, at least in my opinion, based on my experience, is really to prepare food yourself, or to work with a service like Prep My Meal, or wherever you are there might be different services, and this is what I do. And if this is not possible, then I really try to be very healthy, and sometimes instead of choosing an unhealthy option, I really try not to eat at all, because fasting also has a very positive effect. So that's what I do. Okay, so this is my nutrition and food hygiene at the moment. Then the next question that I received was if I have any tips for interviewing for manager role as a person who comes from the industry. And the tips that I usually give is, you should prepare for your interviews just as everyone does. Okay, so prepare for, maybe you have an online assessment. If you're already through it, then prepare for the interview part, the brain teasers and the case studies. And the way you do it is typically that you work through the books first, like Case in Point or something like that. Then maybe you can also pay for some platforms like Prep Lounge, or you can do some coachings. Okay, so this is the basic program that I usually recommend to everyone. If you have an industry background and really apply for a manager role, then I think it's really important to kind of compensate for the lack of consulting experience that you have. And the way you do that is that you actively look for stories, that you look for evidence in your past that showed you, or that were an opportunity for you to apply project manager skills, or to apply skills that are very similar to consulting. So a friend of mine, he works at PwC, but not in a consulting role, but in a support role. And he interviewed for consulting roles on a project manager level. And he prepared just in a normal way, but he also actively was looking for examples from his previous work where he worked like a consultant. Okay, so he highlighted all the conceptual work that he did. He highlighted all the project work that he did. He highlighted the touch point with the senior management that he had. So this is something that I really would do. So just, do the normal preparation that everyone does, and then really focus on highlighting your experience that is similar between the job that you had and will be similar to the things that you do in management consulting. What is your view about EY in India? Well, I don't really have a view. I know Ernst & Young from Germany. They are one of the big four. Obviously, recently, especially in Germany, they had huge issues because of the Wirecard bankruptcy, the fraud actually. So this was, Wirecard is a German startup, and they had really some issues with the balance sheet. And what they did was, that actually, EY was responsible for the auditing, and they didn't see the mistakes. So this was a huge issue in terms of reputation. So they really lost a lot of clients. They really lost a lot of trust. And yeah, that's, a huge problem for them in Germany. I don't know how it is actually in India, because I never worked actually in India. So I really don't have a good opinion that I want to share here about EY in India. But at least in Germany, they are one of the big four. They used to have a very good reputation. It suffered a little bit due to the Wirecard scandal, but I don't know if this is similar in India. Which is the best investment banking firm globally? It's Goldman Sachs. But it always depends how you define best. If we talk about the brand, then it's obviously Goldman Sachs. It's similar to in consulting, McKinsey. And but it's very individual how you define best. For you, even if Goldman Sachs has the biggest brand, this doesn't mean that Goldman Sachs, if you want to go into investment banking, is the right firm for you, because maybe the culture doesn't fit to your style. Maybe career chances aren't what you're looking for. So it highly depends. It's always hard to go for the big brands, because they are just brands, and of course they have a certain reputation, but this doesn't mean that you will be happy if you work for the firm. So in terms of brand, it's certainly Goldman Sachs. And if in terms of what firm you should work for, then probably you have to make your own choices. Is an MBA GMAT score always necessary or preferred to have for a management consulting role at McKinsey, BCG or Bain? No, it's not. So usually, it depends. You should have a master's degree, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an MBA. You could also do a master's in, some more technical fields. But you should always study at one of the top universities in your country. And you should also be, top 1 to 5, let's say 1 to 10%, okay, depending on where you study. But, this is more important than actually having an MBA. Typically what you do is that you join consulting, it depends where you study, but in Europe it's a way that you do a master's degree usually, or a bachelor's degree, then you join consulting, then you work for a couple of years, and then they typically ask you to do an MBA or a PhD to get a promotion to manager and other senior roles. In America, it's a bit different, because there it's very common to do the bachelor first, then they work for like 2 to 4 years, and then they do their MBA. But here they again also work with a bachelor, okay? And in Germany, in Europe, it's very common also to have a non-business background and to join consulting nevertheless. So you don't have to do necessarily an MBA, or GMAT is just a test that helps you to get into an MBA program. But this highly depends on in which country you want to apply. Is there a language barrier to work in consulting in Europe? Yes, if you work in Germany, for example, you should speak German. And I think they require like a B2 or C1 level, because the reason is, although the entire business world speaks English, you know, there might be some projects in Germany, for example, where you work on a production site that is somewhere in the countryside. And there, obviously, it helps if you speak English, German, because those people sometimes don't speak English. And I have one more question here. Okay, where to practice case studies, any materials? Yes, you should first start with the books. So work through all the book material, like Case in Point is the most famous one. Also Case Secrets from Victor Cheng. I would start there, work through those 2 books. The next step would be that you join a online platform like for example, Prep Lounge is a platform that I used back then. And the next step would be that you hire a personal coach for doing those or practicing those interviews. Those are always the 3 stages of case preparation. Good. With that being said, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. Goodbye, Johannes.